Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about What If Season 3, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So the second episode that involves Tiamat, because this episode basically is like the Emergence ended up happening a few years before the events of Eternals, so the Eternals haven't come together to stop the Emergence. So it popped off and Tiamat ends up basically exploding Earth, and now it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like spoilers, where basically Earth got cracked open, and it was like it's Season 5 storyline, and it's about like, oh, who cracked the world open, and there's kind of speculation about who did. It's a whole thing, right? It kind of gives me that vibe. I don't even think I thought about that at the time when it came to the whole Tiamat situation in Eternals. But either way, this episode's kind of bleak in regards of like the state of the world, obviously considering something catastrophic like that. But it's not as bleak, but it kind of gives me that same dour feel as like the Marvel Zombies episode, especially considering like there's so few heroes left, because the only heroes left is kind of the Resistance. Like the main person leading the charge in this situation, well, she was kind of doing her own thing as Riri. I butchered her name, Jesus. Riri. I don't know why I said that weird. But what was really depressing about this situation is like the Watcher's perspective on it. He's like, no matter how many times he see it, whatever the variations or alterations to like any variation of this universe or timeline, it never works out. It always sadly ends with Riri's death. She's like kind of like the last hope, and always ends up dying. It's like it never works out. It's like that's got to be depressing when you kind of see the same thing. Yeah, there might be slight changes, but for the most part, you're seeing the same thing happen over and over and over and over again. It's like, yeah, that's the downside of being the one who just simply watches, you know? I mean, he's interfered up to a certain extent, you know, previously, but this is kind of, you know, it's like, right, he's trying to limit how much he gets involved in these situations. But yeah, it turns out like when everything with Tiamat popped off and the world ended up in the state that it did, Mysterio took advantage of that situation. I think what they say, he took over Stark Tech, and basically he reigned supreme, and he's basically wiping out any like resistance, because he has two things on his side. He has white vision, which makes you wonder like, how did that come about? Because, well, I mean, we know like wasn't it Sword that ended up making white vision in WandaVision? Yeah, so like I guess it's interesting because it makes you wonder. I mean, it happened a few years before Eternals, but I'm curious timeline wise. I mean, I wonder, does that mean like the blip never happened in this universe? Once again, just certain things you're like, when in the timeline is this? But because the reason why I'm bringing that up, because I'm like, had the events of WandaVision happen and he ended up grabbing this particular vision that was active, because it's like, why not get OG Vision? So that's why I feel like maybe this Vision's the only one that was around at the time. I mean, it might also be like, maybe this is before Age of Ultron and when they ended up building Ultron's body. I don't know. All we know is that Mysterio's been reigning power. I mean, he's obviously been going at it for a while because for whatever reason, he's super old now. So I guess like he jumped into the... No. Because it's like, I guess this must be like pretty far into the future. So it's like, that's the thing of like, why is Mysterio so old? I guess maybe just in general, all that power just drained him. Like, I didn't even think about that because he was dying, but I thought it was like he was aging, but I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense timeline wise. So it's like, it can't be that far in the future, but not unless it potentially is, but I'd assume not. But I guess it's just like having all that power just like eroded his body. So he's on his last legs and he's trying to wipe out the resistance before, like, so he could see this world come to its conclusion with his reign being unchallenged. He's got to just stomp out the last little bit of light of resistance, which that includes Valkyrie, Wong, Okoye, and is it Ming Nan, I believe. No, it's Ying Nan. I was saying Ming Nan. It's Ying Nan. So interesting too that Okoye just happens to be like, you know, one of the main fighters left in every apocalyptic situation, just like she was with the zombie situation as well in season 1. But they're kind of gathering around Riri because Riri's trying to build a weapon that could help them stop White Vision. He's kind of the biggest issue. He's Mysterio's main weapon. Plus, Mysterio has amplified his illusions. It's like the last person you want getting like ultra power ruling type of situation. It's a guy that creates illusions because it's like, cool, how much is real, how much is not? Which even Riri's like, the whole situation's kind of made you distrust everything and everyone. I mean, when everything can be fake, it's understandable why you can't trust anything, especially in this world. You know, everything's kind of built off facsimiles and lies. So there's like one vestige that's left. It's like a ship. They end up like kind of being the last hub of resistance. Because I like I said, I was thinking it was a little more dire, but we see there are people around the world just surviving just under Mysterio's reign. But like those fighting back, like most people have just kind of accepted the world as it is. It's kind of sad to see, like, well, Sharon's in her power broker bag in this world, selling people out and just doing her own thing. I mean, once again, you got to make ends meet, and as Sharon's kind of gotten, I guess, like, events played out the same way they did in the mainline timeline, where things kind of got dark, and it's just, yeah, my means of survival is I'm going to do whatever it takes to get by, even if it's kind of nasty or dark, I'll do that. But either way, our heroes try to, like, keep, you know, Riri safe as she started trying to build the weapon, and it's like, okay, how long do you need? She's like, I probably need like 12 hours. It's like, cool, you got like 7.5 minutes, because that's how long the spell's gonna keep charge. So Wong charges everyone up with their armor, while White Vision just comes in and murks everybody. We find out he literally killed everyone in the resistance, and our heroes are trying to fend him off, but it's like kind of no good. Luckily, just at the very last moment, Riri ends up taking down White Vision. So it's this sad burial they end up having to do, because basically they end up exploding the ship that was kind of like home, and so many, like, I mean, like, there was quite a few people we saw, and just everyone got wiped, especially because you're like, these aren't just people from here. It's like, these are people from all over who gathered for this purpose, and they're all gone. It's like, that was, I mean, we didn't see all the death on screen, but that was pretty merciless for him just to go in there and massacre everyone. But, and I think it's so sad too, because the Watcher's like, this right here, Riri, her fighting is the only thing that keeps her going, but that fight is ultimately what's going to kill her. And like every other universe, she comes up with the same plan. Every other like version of this world, she comes up with the same plan. Basically, she fuses herself with the remnant of White Vision and become like a synthetic humanoid, like using him kind of like Iron Man armor. But it's like you, a human, combining with a synthetic being like that, like, it's not good. I mean, who knows if it'll be reversible or not, but Riri's willing to do it all, because it's like, this is all I got. After everything I've lost, everything I've been through, we're at the end. This is do or die. We either make this happen, or, you know, or it's all bust. It's all over. So, but basically, by fusing with White Vision, she's able to see through the illusions. She's leading the ship through, but then there's kind of problems. I thought for a second, I was like, is White Vision going to try and take over, and he's eroding you a little bit? But then we find out later on, Mysterio was playing you the entire time. He basically fused with his nanotech a while back, and basically it's like, right, I made White Vision, and like everything I did, everything that got you here wasn't you, it was me. I allowed you to get this far because I needed your help. Like, I wanted you to break down White Vision and stuff like that, because he's like, for him, like, the way, I guess this isn't going to be the end result. I thought because of his body state that it was in, which I think he needs White Vision to kind of be operatable and become what he needs it to be. He needed someone smart enough to basically kind of disassemble White Vision to allow him to possess it and let that kind of be his new body. I thought he was going to try and hijack Riri's body and kind of live out in her body, but it's like more so like White Vision is what he was aiming for, and she kind of brought it to his doorstep. Then we kind of get the bleak situation of, because I thought something was up when Ying Nam was like, right, let's go this way. But I'm like, once again, you don't know what you can believe or not. Like, don't tell me this is all BS. It kind of, it gives me the same vibe as Nowhere in Infinity War, when Thanos like manipulated the Guardians thinking like, oh, you won. And it's like, nah, it was all a facsimile. It was all a lie. You're just like, oh God. It kind of gave you that same feeling. I mean, I was the entire time, I was like, well, no, like, well, like when she fought and beat up those other the bad guys, I was like, well, those soldiers, I was like, I don't know, maybe this is I was like, I don't know, like it just happens that the others are away fighting, you just happen to be over here where Riri crashed. I was like, it's a little suspicious. She's like, no, I'll stay behind, but she's just standing there. And then it turns out the whole thing was a trap. It's like I said, she got fooled. She's locked up in a cage, and Mysterio's winning, but Riri does push through. But he's like, no, let me show you what you never went inside anywhere. You're still out there in the field. Oh, look, that ship that crashed, yeah, everyone's dead. Wong, Okoye, Yingnan, and Valkyrie, all dead. The last of the heroes, the last resistance is dead, and it's just like that broke Riri, because it's like she's all alone yet again, and it's just like she's already on the losing side. This just broke whatever spirit was left in her, and just the Watcher's like, I can't watch it happen again. But he decided, like, no, he doesn't. He directly interferes to the tune of just telling Riri to fight back, igniting that spark. That's all he did. But that's still doing something, and she was able to take back control of White Vision, steal back like the armor pieces from Mysterio, and also steal away his nanotech. So for her, it's like, right, the thing I'm going to do to this world, he's like, no matter what you do, he kind of almost tried to pull a Far From Home, Far From Home, where he was like, I've got a trap set that's going to basically, no matter what you do, I'm going to trap this world in this kind of illusion they'll never be breaking. But Riri's like, I will do something, and that's inspire the world, showing there's hope. And she flies into the sky and releases the energy and forms a giant Avengers A. And that's enough to spark that resistance in people. And in the process, it's the last thing Mysterio sees as he dies. As his plans kind of fell apart. So what happens now for this world, we'll probably never know. But they are in the realm of kind of on the right trajectory to rebuild everything. But the problem is he interfered, and now the Watcher is being watched. Once again, who watches the Watcher? Well, other Watchers. They're saying, like, right, Uatu's done it again. But they're like, for now, we'll just have to watch him. It makes you wonder, how long have they been watching? It's probably not until he broke the vow in the first season. It's probably when they were like, when he was kind of directly talking to Strange in episode 4, it's probably like, they were probably like, what's he doing? It's like, well, that world's ending. It's probably kind of like the Loki thing of, well, you can hide out in apocalypses because that's not going to pop up on anyone's radar. Anything that in that moment, it's like, well, Uatu, it's like he's talking to a guy, and it has no larger effect because this was all meant to happen. It was all going to happen. And Strange, it's not like Uatu changed anything. He just kind of watched and talked to Strange as it all came unraveled. It's like, so I guess that might have gotten the other Watchers' attention, but like, once again, the fighting Ultron and everything probably was, that was kind of not his fault. That was kind of on Ultron and that world. Kind of forced his hand, so they probably let the whole season 1 finale situation slide. And it's like, he did it, it technically interfered with the... No, because I think in season 2 he didn't really interfere at all with Peggy. I don't think he did. And he offered to help her, but he never did. So that was more like her handling everything. But it's, so I guess that technically, I think really only season 1's finale, and now this is the most he's kind of meddled. So it's going to be interesting to see. I guess that's going to be our major through line this season. Like, once again, whether the heroes we've set up in these scenarios, whether they culminate in any shape or form in a finale, or whether it just purely revolves around the Watchers. It's going to be interesting to see. We've only got 3 episodes left of the series, so I'm curious to see what these future scenarios are. I know at least one of them. I just don't know what episode number it is. I would assume, once again, we'll talk about it when it comes up, but I'd assume it'd have to be 6 or 7. I doubt it'd be 8. But I'm curious to see where this Watcher situation goes. And obviously, we'll probably start bleeding it. It probably won't happen until 7 when we start bleeding in the fact is the other Watchers are watching Uatu. So it's like, that probably won't really come up or pop up again really until 7, but maybe there'll be hints and elements of it in 6. But we'll have to just wait and see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.